个下个遥远千里来相会。
This is Lugu Lake, lying just east of the beautiful city of Shangri-La in southwest China. To most Chinese, this area is called Women's Kingdom, a place where women do not accept many rules of Chinese society. I grew up far away in Shanghai. I've been thinking of coming here for over a decade. I want to see how much freedom of life a woman can possibly enjoy. After a plane flight and a 7-hour drive, I arrived at the Luoshui village by the lake. People here are called Moso. The Moso are a small minority group that has an estimated population of 30 to 50,000. They believe in Tibetan Buddhism and have their own language. Chinese say the Moso society is the country's last matriarchy.
这里结婚人家会觉得挺怪的，我也会觉得很别扭的。在这种地方结什么婚？本来风俗就是这样的。
Moso women do not marry in the traditional way. They practice what they call working marriage, a tradition that has persisted for at least 1,000 years. A man walks into a woman's bedroom at night, and she decides if she wants him to stay. In the morning, he must leave.
不要太使劲滑，在边上玩一下就行。因为他走婚台场什么的都不统一嘛，各干各的嘛。只是晚上2个人在一起谈情说爱嘛。我们的爱情应该是2个人合得来就在一起，合不来就各走各的，很和气的就散开了。何必要去结婚呢？何必要去什么法院啊搞个什么结婚证呢？说难听一点，就拿那一本红色的结婚证当自己的手铐干什么呢？对不对？
Moso children don't live with their fathers. They're raised by their mothers and their mothers' families. Once the media started touting Moso society as a free love culture, hundreds of thousands of tourists began coming. Most of the tourists are Chinese, from the Han majority like me.
那你们汉人就不一样了。要是有个小孩生长在大城市里面，他要是只有妈妈没有爸爸，人家肯定要说他没有爸爸的野孩子嘛。然后在这里生一个这样的小孩，谁会这样说呀？都不是一样的。
I first met Cha Cuo in a little restaurant bar along the lake. She also has the only internet bar in the village. We became friends. She said I could call her tomboy as others did. And she took me to see a Moso performance. Singing and dancing are an important part of Moso culture. Now they sing and dance for the tourists every night, unless the rain is too heavy. But what attracts the tourists most are the exotic possibilities of free love.
最多的问题肯定是，你走婚了没有？走了几个？晚上我要跟你走婚。我最讨厌的就一张口就是能不能走婚呀？晚上我们可不可以去走婚呀？好像很自以为是那种。每次我都是说，你觉得你那么有魅力呀？你有那个本事吗？他们就不说话了。哈哈。
Cha Cuo says Moso women can have as many sexual relationships as they want. But some tourists insist on taking advantage of their traditions.
走婚要有感情的，最起码你要认识。然后他就说， 没关系，他可以付钱。他说要多少钱，然后当时我很生气，然后就马上就打了他2个耳光嘛。
The women's kingdom also attracts women tourists who are interested in the available men.
摩梭的小伙子很亮很帅，他们会骑马摔跤，然后太阳晒得黑黑的，非常的强壮，非常的勇猛 strong。
This is Zhang's second visit here in a few months. She says 8 Mosul men have fallen in love with her.
我们汉族人表达爱情的话会有很多麻烦，他不会像摩梭人哇很奔放，我喜欢你，我会喝酒，我会跳舞，然后喝酒跳舞以后我有情绪，我就表达我喜欢你，我要跟你走婚，我喜欢，非常的直接。
Today, each of the 70 families in the Lugu village owns at least a hotel or restaurant. They entertain the tourists together and split the money equally. Since tourism began here in the early 90s, Lugu has become the wealthiest Mosul village. But Chato says, if I want to see the real Mosul culture, I have to go deeper into the mountains. With the help of a local monk, I headed to a remote Mosul village. Seven hours on horseback, up and down the hills. Only the locals know these roads.
Yeah.
High on the mountain, we found Wujiao village. About 200 Mosul live here. When we arrived, unannounced, a family immediately took us in. In Wujiao, everyone works for the common good. Families choose the most capable women to run the household. Men help with the farm work. In Mosul, there's no abandonment. The old don't have to live alone, and the young are taken care of by the big families. Unlike other rural areas in China, where many girl babies are abandoned, here, the young Mosul women are proud of being girls.
最后女孩子什么都是做得来就好嘛。
Traditionally, Mosul women can't wear dresses or skirts until they turn 13, when they go through a grown-up ceremony. Then, they can start dating, looking for men they would like to father their children. And they get their own rooms. La Cuo was excited to show me her room and everything in it.
要像原先的我学的时候种嘛。这个是你。可以了。这个都是家里面给你的，妈妈给你的吗？妈妈的。你全部都喜欢呀？这个都是我喜欢呀。So heavy.
I've never had that many rings on my fingers. La Cuo says she loves to put on rings, but she will never wear a wedding ring.
机会还不好玩嘛，在一起。吵吵闹闹的一天唠过去唠去来嘛，他们。
Asking questions about sexual relationships in front of men is an absolute taboo in Mosul culture. But women can talk about the subject when men are not around.
我们这里面是白天的哪些出去啊，一定要女孩子不喜欢男孩子就给他唱歌嘛。我不喜欢你的也是唱给他听嘛。
And at night, she says if the woman is interested, she would quietly open the door for the man.
天天住他家里面，女孩子家里面一般都是日不出来，全部睡觉的时候就他悄悄咪咪就回去嘛。
Lato hasn't tried this yet. She says she'll wait until she's in love. On this plateau, Lato and her uncles herd yaks for the family. In Mosul, uncles are much more important than fathers. Lato says she grew up with at least 8 uncles.
我的叔叔比爸爸都好嘛，家里面一起不在的时候，奶奶那些全部在看嘛，女孩子，嘛他的妈妈一定出去劳动那些就，一定要他叔叔呀、奶奶呀，那些去一定要看他们。我以前小的时候，一般都是我叔叔那些我给我东西那些，一般都是我叔叔的，和我姨那些没给我长大嘛。
In the past, Mosul men took long caravan trips over muddy roads filled with bleachers. Now, there are paved roads, the trips are shorter, and men spend more time at home. Lugu Zhacuo, like most Mosul men, stays with his own family, taking care of his sister's children.
什么情况？我们都是姥姥的，我们姥姥他们照顾我们，就是他孩子了，反正就去照顾他。
你不管？
我都是随便的衣服啊，穿的随便的一点点就去。我送到那里就很豪爽，到处都可以玩。
The women work harder. Whenever there is a spare moment, they start weaving to make extra money. They can spend months on one blanket. Sometimes they spin yak wool together late into the night. The Mosul don't celebrate birthdays, but they do celebrate a good harvest. Villagers come together to enjoy themselves. That day, they told me they were so happy that they wanted to dance. They also had fun dressing me up. Still, the secure and peaceful life may not be enough to keep the young at home. Some dream of leaving one day.
一定要我想读书，这样想，不读书时我不可以行了，一定要出去不抢我这样想嘛。外面的女孩子不用漂亮的有嘛，实在我也怕了，不好漂亮，我一定瘦才好漂亮嘛，这样想。
而且你会回来吗？
我想回来就回来嘛，不想回来就其他的地方住嘛，走下来。
Her family is renovating the second floor to make comfortable rooms for visitors. Lato says, soon enough, the village will have its first telephone line, a paved road, and tourists.
这些都一点你的人住我的家里面就有一点好玩嘛。
After a week in the Wujiao village, sleeping on the floor with no shower and no restroom, I was ready to travel back to the comforts of Luoshui. It was nice to check into this hotel owned by Shina's family. Shina is the only Mosul woman who has had a chance to study in the U.S.
For me, the matriarchal family structure is the most unique. I have the family here and I got a lot of people who love me, so I'm not afraid of anything.
It was Shina's family that opened the first hotel for tourists in the village. but she says she's now worried about tourism.
When I was a little kid, we drink the water from the lake. But right now we drink the water from the hill. I'm kind of like so sad this time because I find like tourism is not in the healthy way right now because you can see the pollution is really, really terrible here. As a Muslim people and as a villager in this village, everybody has the responsibility to stop it. But nobody stand up to say no. And a lot of people just come here and in the name of Mosul, they're running kind of like brothel or those kind of things.
Chato is also having doubts about the changes.
开发旅游好是好，生活物质上都提高了，但是我还不太喜欢。我还是希望回到原来的我。我觉得现在我都已经变了，我都已经有点不喜欢我了。
When tourists first came, Chato says she still lived her life in her own way. She always joked around and laughed loudly.
现在不行了，现在的游客他太小气了，要是两口子一起过来玩，我开句玩笑，那个女的就生气了，啊，那个男的也很尴尬，都不行了。以前基本上没碰到过这样的客人，刚开始的时候没碰到过，后面慢慢的碰得多了，我就不敢再开玩笑了。
5 years ago, Chato met Zhang Jun, a Han tourist at the lake. The two fell in love, and they began living together. Chato insists they are not married, even though they have a little daughter.
我跟你在一起就是因为我喜欢你，但在城市里你就不一样了，他要考虑你身份啊，你有没有钱啊，工作呀，将来的发展啊，前途啊，这些东西都会考虑的。
But to the local villagers, such cross-cultural love was hard to imagine. Many thought the relationship wouldn't last long. Even Chato's mother couldn't accept Zhang Jun at first.
我记得第一次去他家里的时候，他妈妈曾经说过嘛，当时就看我一眼之后跟Chato说嘛，他说天上的乌鸦没有白的，地上的汉人没有好的。当时我就觉得挺灰心的。
Zhang Jun also worked hard to persuade his parents, who lived 2,500 miles away in northern China.
就是这次回家探亲2个多月，都快把我给逼出毛病来了，一天躲在屋里大吼大叫的唱，在大街上想唱一首歌唱，我都受不了了，我都跟张军说我受不了了，我要在大街上唱歌了。他说别唱，要唱了人家还以为你有神经病呢。到最后没办法，我只有跑到自己屋里把门锁上，在里面唱。山海造化，风吹阵阵响，我的思念在远方。
我在这边待久了，也慢慢的接受他们的一些思想。当然，待久了有一点枯燥和一点单调。偶尔还会想到，假设我如果在这几年如果在城市我会赚了多少钱，或者是我的事业会怎么样，也会有这种念头。
我不会跟他结婚的，我不会跟他到大城市去的。要是张军离开我有可能受得了，要是张军让我离开这个大家庭的话，有可能受不了。
But choosing to stay presents other problems.
我现在可能是向往以前的生活，向往的时间太长了，所以感觉挺累的活的。我宁愿躲到山上吃一个土豆，然后放一群牛，我也不愿去接待太多的游客。
I realized even in the women's kingdom, freedom is full of painful choices.
Madami